And the story that I'm going to tell is rather mundane, if you ask me. But it's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Toward the end of all of our services, part of our Bodhisattva vows is opportunities to awaken are infinite. We vow to embrace them all. And as part of our great admonition, we say, time passes swiftly by and opportunities to awaken are easily lost. One of my favorite sayings is, every gate is a Dharma gate. So here's the story. I was a new meditator, officially a Zen Sangha meditator. And the group I was sitting with would face the wall, and the wall was cinder blocks, unpainted cinder blocks. So it's kind of, gray, speckled and all that. And it was a dimly lit room. And so one day I'm sitting there with my eyes like half closed, 3/4 closed, glancing down 45 degrees as we're supposed to do. And I noticed that the inside of my eyelids and the wall, maybe my shadow on the wall included, were the same color. Like there was no line between eyelid and wall. It was just sort of this grayish thing going on. And I thought that was interesting. I didn't think of it as anything particularly special other than, And then further on in my practice, I hear the phrase, not one, not two. And it was like, eyelids and wall. Not one, not two. Same color, appear the same, but separate also. Not one, not two. Different Sangha with my teacher, Taisan Dharma, back in Princeton, New Jersey. We would do walking meditation as we just did. And when I first started walking meditation, it was a little bit different from what I had done previously. Before, it was sort of like step, half a step, step, half a step. So it took a really long time to get around the room. But it was time, so it was pretty much one lap around the room. So we're doing the walking meditation, and it's, like I said, I'm doing it very intentionally because I want to do it as the Sangha does it, right? Because that's our way. Situation, relationship, function. You don't just wing it, make up however you want to do it. You do it as part of the Sangha. And so when I started out, I was very intentionally paying attention, to my teacher's stepping, right? And I would also very intentionally inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And then after a while, I didn't even have to do it mindfully anymore. It was just intuitive. And then one day, after not having to think about it at all, just intuitively doing it as if it were totally natural before thought, I noticed that I was doing the exact same thing. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, without having to think about it. But there I was thinking about it. I thought, oh, jeez, where do I get off? So that was another one of my mundane sort of Dharma gates. The whole before thought aspect of the walking meditation. Didn't need to think about it. Eyelids, wall, same, different. If you say they're the same, I'll hit you 30 times. If you say they're different, I'll hit you 30 times. As our grand teacher would teach. So those are my rather mundane little opportunities to awaken that I, at the time, embraced. And, you know, we're going back a number of years now, so I still remember them. There's still opportunities. So here's where the audience participation starts. If you'd like, you can unmute your microphones and tell us about an opportunity to awaken that happened to you, or one that after the fact you said, you know, it was easily lost. So what Dharma gate did you enter? And if you don't want to participate, that's fine, but just think about it. What opportunity to awaken am I not embracing? What opportunity to awaken am I going to embrace? So, participate away.
You remember the other day when we spoke? I wasn't joking about that liver shot. I was really serious because it as painful as it was. Again, there was no thought involved in feeling that pain. It was just it was no pretense. There wasn't anything to think about. I got hit in the liver, so that's my mundane yet painful awakening experience.
Very good. I've never been punched in the liver, so I'll take your word for it. Reverend Minwee, Compassionate Justice, how about you? What have you embraced or easily lost?
That's a good question because while I'm a firm believer that in our path towards enlightenment, we have immediate flashes of brilliance or understanding. Much of my path has been gradual, and so I studied Zen for a while under a couple of different teachers, and then I started practicing Theravadan Buddhism, and I did that for for 4 or 5 years. At one point, for about 3 years, I just absolutely quit practicing Zen altogether and devoted myself to it, my Theravada practice. Um, but one day I looked around and I was in a retreat kind of like this, but it was a Theravadan retreat. And it occurred to me that I was only trying to save myself. And I had a bodhicitta moment, sitting in meditation in a Sri Lankan temple, asking myself, did the Buddha think it was enough to only save himself? And it hit me that at that time, I was not personally following a bodhisattva path. And I went back to my old Zen teacher and said, I had this bodhicitta moment. I'm not quite sure how to follow it. And much as Unsan just said, all gates are Dharma gates. This teacher told me there are many paths up the mountain. As long as you have the right intent, you're on the right path. And it occurred to me, my path was the bodhisattva path. To save all those sentient beings that don't exist. But I do believe it's a path towards helping all sentient beings. And so that's the path I follow. And it occurred to me just sitting in a meditation hall one day, thinking I was selfish. And I didn't think that was the Buddha way. So I don't say that to disparage any other sect of Buddhism. We all have our paths. Every gate is a Dharma gate. But I found that following a bodhisattva path was more enlightening for me personally, and that's who I am today.
So what you're saying is that you had the great cosmic
Yeah, I very much so. Sitting in there thinking, I'm trying to save myself. What if the Buddha, who had initially saved himself, said, I'm done? And wasn't it the Samapati? Is that the name of the god that came down to Buddha and said, hey, buddy, you figured it out, but you can't just keep it all to yourself. You got to do more. You got to share. You got to share it. You got to teach other people. So yeah, I had that Homer Simpson no moment, and I think it helped me see the Buddha Dharma much more clearly.
One thing from the bodhisattva perspective that's very much like the Buddha's original post-awakening moment was that the first few people that he tried to teach the Dharma to were just like, what? And then he found the five ascetics and they took off from there. But that first bunch that just didn't get it could have discouraged him and said, nah, this is not for me. But he persisted. He had diligence about it. So he carried on. And down to this day, we're still out to help all sentient beings. So
indeed, he spent 49 days trying to figure out how am I going to teach what I have figured out for myself over these past 6 years, and then my one night of ultimate awakening. So we spent 49 extra days, basically, 7 times 7, uh, working out, you know, those 12 interdependent links, Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path. He had to sort those out in that period so that he could become the teacher that he became. So, yeah.
One could say that while he was sitting there figuring it out, at some point or another, it was as if he had been punched in the liver. And he said, "Ah, got it." Punched in the liver bit. I don't know. That's. I have never had one of those.
It'll wake you up.